This is Sky News Today. Coming up, the Russian opposition politician Alexei Navalny has died. I'll get the latest reaction from Michael Bociurkiw from the Atlantic Council. We're back to our top story now, and the jailed Putin critic Alexei Navalny has died in prison. Vladimir Putin's regime has received universal condemnation amongst Western leaders, saying the Russian president should be held accountable for the death. Well, joining me now is Michael Bociurkiw, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. Good afternoon, Michael. I think the last time you and I spoke was when Prigozhin died in a plane crash, and again, we're hearing of a death, and widely world leaders saying President Putin and his regime are behind it.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Prigozhin, another thorn in the side of Mr. Putin, and now Mr. Navalny. Very, very sad. And I've got to say, I mean, the strength of his wife just now speaking at that Munich Security Conference was really, really impressive. And I think what's going to happen, as we've seen with other outspoken critics of the regime, that she will probably become the spokesperson, pick up the mantle from her late husband. This is the kind of almost a tradition going back to Soviet times when dissidents rotted away in the Gulag, the same region where Mr. Navalny was, that their wives would come to the West and take up the mantle. So I mean, the other thing I was thinking here as well is that it was very, very risky, of course, for Mr. Navalny to return to Russia after his treatment in Germany. But I think the calculation there was that if he had stayed outside, that he might have been sidelined over time, the same way, in some ways, that Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya from Belarus has. And the other thing, Russians are very suspicious people, but they're also fed, as you know, a lot of propaganda. He probably would have been branded a spy had he side of Russia. But all things considered, such a sad development in Russia today.
And Michael, I understand you've just arrived in Ukraine. President Zelensky has also spoken today, saying that President Putin is directly responsible for Alexei Navalny's death. What relationship did Alexei Navalny have with Ukraine, and how much does this impact maybe the world's opinion on more support for Ukraine?
Yeah, well, when news broke, I was actually on the bus between Odessa and here in Kiev, and the news spread like wildfire. But, you know, Ukrainians have a bit of an odd relationship with Mr. Navalny. A lot of them remember his statement a few years ago where he said Crimea belongs to Russia and it will never go back to Ukraine. Later on, he walked back those words, but it's still stuck here amongst the population. But checking with my friends and contacts today, I think most of them are really more concerned with the current state of affairs, the war here in Ukraine. I think where Mr. Zelensky comes in, he's right to remind the world that this is the raw, ugly face of Russian brutality, Russian inhumanity, as Ukrainians across the country well know. As we head into the third year of the war, look what the Russians have done here in terms of war crimes. So what happened today won't surprise them in the least.
Michael Bociurkiw, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very much indeed for joining us live from Kyiv this afternoon. Thank you.